Hello and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Learn webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge amongst business owners on key business topics and specialist areas. This is part of our service to our Smart Room members, and if you're not already a member or a BizSmart client who would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website biz-smart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. Our host joining me today is Steve Parker from ICD and a BizSmart core advisor. But before we start the webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have, and Steve will answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, Steve. Over to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Good afternoon, everybody, or whatever time it is when you're listening on catch-up. Either of that is fine. This is another one of the BizSmart webinars where we try to put a different perspective and some different insight into matters that will help your business. And if that all sounds too intelligent, don't worry, it'll get easier during the next few slides. So that's me. You can see it on the front slide. There's a chance to catch the details, hopefully, if we do the slides in the right order on the last one that you'll see. So we've tried to tease and tempt you. I'm part of BizSmart. I've done UK strategy and growth work with probably 40 or so of you now, so used to applying international methods into the UK market with the strange black country logic that if it works in worldwide competition, then maybe it'll work in Worcestershire. So you've seen that this is another reminder that in today's business life, you can be so busy doing what you're doing, you don't spend enough time looking strategically at your business, and you continue to do it the same way, which works for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden your sales start to decline, or they one or two customers disappear completely, or they get taken over, or you use the supply, and then you've got a rather large hole in your business and a rather big problem. So the lessons learned from the people that I've worked with exporting on a daily basis is that they used to be really, really dependent on just having one way of getting into a market, and they just used to, by the fact that you simply in years gone by couldn't find the information out in the first place, used to have to be reliant on one source, and now they don't, and now you don't either. So we're going to try and touch on during the next few minutes together, both opening your minds to selling to different people in a different way, how you sell to lots of different marketing channels at the same time, how you adapt the essence of your business, the core part of your business, to being able to do that, and primarily to open your minds to consider doing business differently. We can obviously help both with my own company and through BizSmart. We can help you along the way. So it's not just a question of thinking of, oh, well, I've got to ask a question towards the end. Make a note of it. You'll see there's a call to action to get in touch with us towards the end as well. So some of this will tell you things that you're already doing, which might be some measure of comfort. Hopefully there'll be one or two new ideas come out of it. And other times it'll make you say, well, actually, I've never thought of that way before, and I might need some training or some help to change your mindset. So if we haven't worked together before, there's an overview. I won't read it out of my background. I won't read it out, A, because it's embarrassing, and B, that there's so much to read out that it'll take up the next 20 minutes. But yeah, just a black country guy, got into exporting, spent 30 years doing a ridiculous amount of time overseas, trying to compete with every international competitor in the world in markets that were unfamiliar to me, where I didn't know the rules of the game. And I had to learn them fairly quickly, A, for personal sanity, although that's slightly questionable, and B, to make sure I didn't get thrown in jail at the time. I still export every day of the week. They'll give me Sundays off, if you wouldn't mind. And much to my surprise, just being a chap from Stourbridge, have developed some really good long-term relationships with people overseas, some of whom, as you'll see from the third paragraph down, actually want me to help them in their business even though I'm based over here and they're based over there. But then fundamentally, what we're talking about today is you coming up with ideas for helping them wherever they are, Worcestershire, Namibia, it doesn't matter where they are, you're helping them with their business, which will help you to help your profits and your well-being. So a load of stuff on there, pretty much anything on the UK and international, give me a shout. And the UK partner for 2 golf-based organisations is, you'll see opportunities in BizSmart that 2 great organisations in the golf would really like to hear from more Worcestershire companies, chances for publicity, for getting introductions into big companies. So rather than buying reports and talking to the man from the ministry, give us a shout and we'll get you into some of those overseas markets. So today's bit, market strategies, how are we going to do it? Selling to people in the same way, selling to the same people. You might have seen these next couple of slides before, but I left them in anyway. If you think second-hand slides, then a sales and marketing one would be. We're going to upcycle these slides into this latest webinar. Upcycling is the in word at the moment, so pretend you haven't seen them before, or pretend you saw them when they were really useful. Trendy bedrooms, we're only going to spend a couple of minutes on this slide, as if I'm timing this. But this was somebody who used to sell to somebody in the same way, and I just wanted to highlight all of the different routes to market, all of the different potential customers they could have had without varying the product, but just with their same personality and their same skills. So we've got even more. We've got 2 whole pages on selling to people through their own website, through UK manufacturers, through to people who sell overseas, and then flicking back in a blur to a different route of intermediaries. Now, Trendy Bedrooms isn't the name of a real company, but all of those routes to market and all of those considerations apply to more than 20 of the companies I'm currently dealing with, and with another company that I own, it applies. 3 or 4 of those routes to market apply to those. So this isn't a theoretical bit. We could tell you tales when we had more time, or when we're drinking tea, of real-time examples of those. I just wanted to put them on the screen so that you can now start to consider how many of those do you use, and if it's only 1 or 2, then just accept that you're probably reliant on 1 or 2 of those working, and maybe, just maybe, it's worth developing some contingency plans. So to do that, the first thing we do, and that BizSmart will tell you, and any of us, whichever one of us you work with, will tell you that whether it's Confucius or a bloke from Stourbridge, you need to make sure you know yourself first. When I first got involved with BizSmart, I thought this was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't realise this was a theoretical part of business growth, because I spent lots of time overseas, and lots of time sitting on planes, lots of time sitting in hotels, and I had to work it out for myself. Nobody actually told me there was some theory behind it. And the reason I had to do that is that it was too blooming expensive to perform badly. It was too blooming expensive to make a wrong impression, make a bad impression, not be on top form, because overseas I couldn't just nip back the following day and say, sorry about being a twit. You had to create a level. And so my point is, a lot of the versions of sales and marketing suggest that you need to act like somebody else, and you don't. You need to act entirely like yourself. And in the BizSmart process, the more scientific version, you'll find that we spend lots of time on developing core values and core purposes. Now, for all the reasons you've been given, one of this is to make sure you actually do know why you do what you do. You do know what limits you've got in terms of the things you're prepared to do, and that if you're absolutely sure of those, then you can come up with a number of wider sales and marketing themes and lots of routes to market and new ideas for your products or service, all linked to the same foundation. But if you haven't got the foundation in the first place, no wonder you don't get any ideas. And it's really strange that what should be the easiest part of the process, knowing yourself, tends to be one of the most difficult areas of the strategy days that I've done. And the old bit, whether it's business or whether it's your own personal life, the wife doesn't understand me, my husband doesn't understand me, my customers don't understand me, I'm not getting the right type of customers, my customers are playing me up too often. It's about understanding each other, and as you say, the starting point is knowing yourself. So core values, core purpose, being consistent. You can soon fine-tune it, but if you don't know what it is in the first place, you're wasting your time. So the final paragraph on that slide is once you've established what your company really does, and there's many ways of explaining it, of marketing it, of getting interest in it, of creating sales and repeat sales, and of developing relationships, using the old part that you want products and services that don't come back to people who do. And that was a saying from about the 1950s, which my dad told me about, because I wasn't old enough at the time. So that's all very well, but that means putting a bit of you into it, but then you're a small and micro business probably, or a medium-sized business, and the biggest single advantage you have over PLCs and international competitors is the fact that it's your personality, you can apply your warts and all things to it, and you can react faster. But you'll end up aging before your time if you go into everyone without really considering what types of business relationships you want, what type of levels of commitment you want, and how close you want to get to people. I know people who don't want to be friends with any of their customers. They just want to sell to them and make a margin to them. Others have a personality where it lends itself to more people business. And it's the same with how peopleized, if you like, you make your product and service. And as we're talking strategically here, consider the levels of time and investment to do it and appreciate the rewards. Another upcycled comment from a previous webinar is no one's better at being you than you are. But then it's not just about your product and service, it's about the customer service. It's not just about finance. We're not suggesting you just drive things through on price. And the skill you need to get used to, which some people struggle to master, and to some people it's ever so blooming easy, is developing skills in putting yourselves in their shoes so that you understand them. The more you understand them, the more you can develop the relationship, the more you can think of more useful things to sell to them. So that's a little bit about relationship thinking, and let's pick up on, with any luck at all, if my next slide is what I think it is, working on what type of business relationships you want and how the effects on your selling and marketing and your personality and the personality of the people who work with you, which is another subject in itself, you can put into it. So let's think of some of the strategic impacts in you understanding yourself and you being able to put the message out irrespective of what your product is. If we go back to that upcycled slide before, you've got an opportunity nowadays, whether it's in Worcestershire or lots of places overseas, excuse me, to contacting hundreds, thousands, depending on your volume, depending on how you want to do it, with the end purchaser, the person that ultimately buys and uses and gets maximum impact from your stuff. And there's some words in the next few slides I don't typically use, but I thought I'd throw them in anyway because it was Monday and I felt like it, to be fair. So if you're dealing with the end user, if you've got all these wonderful reasons for starting your company, you've got all these wonderful design features, you've got all these happy things in and technical details, I don't care how technical it is, You're dealing with a person, even the purchasing person, even the big cheese in the company is a person. So you can give all of those personality bit, all of your company's bit, and because you're dealing with the very, very, very end person, all of those benefits, all of those you bits can be totally undiluted and caring and sharing, and if you like, that kind of thing. Or frankly, you can just put yourself in that person's shoes and tell them what they want to hear within your own core values. If you're going through an intermediary, if you've got a product that's going to retail and online retail, you're fighting for space. Hopefully when they were making the purchasing decision, they got to know you, they liked you. But inevitably, when they pass that message on, unless you spend some time on the aspects of it, you'll have a diluted personality in the ongoing purchasing decision to the end purchaser. Glad you're keeping up at the back. So you then spend lots of time nurturing so that you are positioned in the best place in the store, the best place on the site, and that they don't just sell it as a profit per space or a number of clicks on your site. You have to look at ways of developing why that isn't just a piece of plastic or a piece of wood or a piece of ceramic. And then strategic impacts on the you and the way they'll remember you. First of all, you want somebody to remember you all the time, to be one of your first thoughts in their head. So to an agent and distributor, yeah, they might get excited by you and the products. They might want to be able to tell more customers about it. You can work out from putting yourself in their shoes exactly why they might buy. The closer they are to you, the more they'll be motivated. You don't care about other people's products in the range. You just want them to actively sell it on a daily basis. You could be a great way of enhancing their brand and reputation. Look who I found, this small company, these people who, if I want it in 24 hours, will do it for me. If I want it in a different colour, they'll make it for me. All reasons for them to sell more and to sell more of your stuff. And then manufacturers, could be a number of reasons, but you've got another strategic impact of your personality. You're not just one of 1,000 people on their buying list. You can be that reliable supplier. It could be a case of, God, I wished I'd thought of that, because in PLC land, it takes you ages to A, think of anything new, and to B, turn it into reality, whereas you can be that part of their brand. And you might have faster turnaround, more flexibility to make it than a long production cycle or some equipment or a route that they haven't thought of, because they're used to thinking big rather than small. So strategic impacts of you being you and doing that stuff. So just have a think about, having decided you know who you are, how all of a sudden that one route into selling something, using the same methods, varying your marketing slightly, you can open up. If I, in a blur, flick it back, all of a sudden you can apply why you're doing what you're doing and that personality which the person next door hasn't got and your competitor hasn't got, to looking at several routes to market, which, while you're still getting your business of today, you can be developing through strategic marketing, through strategic targeting yourself. So hang on, that sounds a bit exciting. Never mind growing my company, never mind growing it by 10 or 20%, upscaling it, preparing it for future sale, buying the retirement villa in the mountains, whatever it happens to be, by selling through several different routes, through several different people, in several different ways, all linked to the same personality of you and your company and the people that you've trained and that you've brought on into the company, you can do it. And nowadays, as you can see from the first slide, from the first paragraph, you can now, whether it's you, whether it's and in turn, whether it's somebody in your marketing team, whether it's the daughter or the granddaughter, whether it's the wife, you can now research, find, develop multiple customers, multiple sectors, multiple countries, sell to lots of places overseas, and develop lots of great business relationships and business collaborations based entirely around and consistent with your core values and your core purposes, so that you're not that actor and or actress, and however they contact you, there will always be a consistency in your approach, but it might be something completely different. So we've got people at the moment who started off in one sector, but because they really, really understand why they're doing what they're doing, have developed lots of new marketing opportunities and lots of sales opportunities in lots of market. And that's the clever bit, and they can respond faster, and they can test it out, and they don't have to make thousands, and they don't have to have cash flow problems. They can just do it because they're small and they're good. So consider all your options for marketing and selling, not just the traditional way. Think about doing it differently. If it's ridiculously scary, just talk to us about it, and we'll talk you through it, and we'll give you an outside perspective. And the bottom line is absolutely critical. The absolute failure, from my point of view, would have been to try, in all those overseas times, and even now, try and sell something to somebody just because I was under huge pressure to sell it. And sometimes I was. But there will be times, if you get your value proposition right, as I think BizSmart would say, that people know that you've treated them in the right way. They haven't tried to flog you something that they themselves can't sell. You haven't tried to get something into their range which they can't be enthusiastic about, which is why you won't just sell it to them once. They'll want to sell it because it's good, it does lots of things for them, and on a good day they like you and they like ringing you up and asking you stuff. Part of the relationships. So, but then I was talking to a few people the other day, and they struggled to get ideas. And two people in the group I was with said, but we're not ideas persons. We don't come up with new ideas. So how you do it? Well, for all the differences in what I do, my clients, my companies, risk of being a smart ass, we're always coming up with new ideas. We've got tons we always want to do. If you think you're like that, if you're a little bit tied up in your business rather than on it, sales and marketing proper trainers would tell you that whether it's marketing or whether it's an advert or whether it's Paris the Thought a seminar in Bromsgrove on a Tuesday lunchtime, you should always leave people with a call of action. And that's what mine is. You now know somebody who does come up with ideas and who is used to turning them into profitable reality. So there's a phrase on there which is a code for giving you a discount on working together when you later do. And it's a very simple expression which you can read on there, which will be available on social media afterwards, which says, hello Steve, I heard your BizSmart webinar. I want to hear your ideas on helping me. And along the lines of, if I buy you a cup of tea, can you come round and we'll have a chat? So lots of information, slides downloadable, me contactable by those details. And because it's a really interesting subject, because it's critical to your business, the next webinar that is scheduled for BizSmart that I think I'm doing in October pulls out a little bit of how you can use your own personality and your own business relationship to sell more stuff in Worcestershire, in the UK, and potentially, like me, in 30 odd countries worldwide. 12:56.
Great, thank you very much, Steve. We've got a number of questions coming through for you to answer. The first one is from Mavis, and she asks, Steve, my head is always full of day-to-day problems. How can I get ideas into my business?
Yeah, it can be really difficult because when you're running your own place, I run two of mine. You've always got things to do. It's difficult to take it out. First of all, make time to bring somebody in who you think you can trust to give an outside perspective, to throw some ideas which, even if they're embarrassingly bad ones, will start a thought process and tend to lead to something else. You have to open that barrier psychologically sometime to ideas, and sometimes you need somebody from outside to evaluate it a little bit. So bring somebody in. Failing that, from my experience, build into your schedule some thinking time. It can be walking when you're walking the dog. Don't do it when you're with your closest other half, or wife, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it happens to be. Don't burden with them with it, because it will create the wrong thing. But take time out, valuable time specifically, to evaluate which other places, which new products, which thoughts you can do within your business. Write them on tatty pieces of paper and then talk them through with a BizSmart core advisor or someone, just to get a feel for it. And that could be the start of your next idea. And then you'll have the fun of developing a process to turn that into a huge thrill and a huge way of making money afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Your next question from Jimmy. Do you need a physical product to consider different routes to market, or can it be a service?
Yeah, you would think it potentially that you could only do it with a product, but nowadays there are lots of services trying to battle for new different routes to market. For a service, maybe before you went through a broker, maybe you can attract things to you directly. Now, the short answer is it can be. You can do it as a service. You can look at all the different people who might want to buy it, and like some of those intermediaries that I showed you before, they can be bought into your marketing and selling mix for all of it. So you would think it typically applies to only a product, but no, it can definitely be done with a service, and I'll be happy to have a chat with you and exchange some ideas with you if you think that will help.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again, Steve, for hosting for today's webinar. I will be sending out a copy of the presentation and, of course, Steve's contact details out to you all very shortly. But before we close, just a quick reminder that this webinar is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website, biz-smart.co.uk, and go to the Smart Room page. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for joining us, and we hope you can join us again soon. Thank you.